Open our eyes, O Christ, to your quiet presence beside us. As we hear your word, warm our hearts with hope and help us recognize your companionship in every step. Amen. We are going to be reading from the book of Luke, chapter 24, verses 13 to 24. Now that same day, and this same day is the day of resurrection, that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus. It's about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you only a visitor to Jerusalem and do not know the things that have happened there in these days?" "What things?" he asked. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what is more, it is the 3rd day since all this took place. In addition, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning, but didn't find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just as the woman had said. But him they did not see." And so over the next 5 weeks, we're going to go on a series called On the Road. We're going to journey with people who followed Jesus as they walk away from the empty tomb, right? So Jesus will be walking through various emotions and situations with these 2 men on the road to Emmaus, each moment bringing insight. And as we walk this journey on the road, may we allow ourselves to become more aware of the presence of Jesus within our own lives. And our first stop on this journey is this morning, the stop of disappointment and confusion. And so I want you to take a moment, I want you to think about something that you were really excited about. But then when it happened, it wasn't as grand as you thought it was going to be. For example, I imagine many of us were excited to turn 16. We were going to get our license and we were going to be able to drive and we were going to have this sense of freedom. But maybe not, because mom and dad still had a say on whether or not you could drive somewhere. Whether you can drive with this person or that person in the car or not. Realizing that there are bills that come with driving, like gas and insurance and car payments if you have your own car. And then that moment we become the gopher for the family, so go for the groceries that we ordered or go pick up the food that we ordered, right? So maybe it wasn't quite the same as we had hoped for. Or maybe we were finally ready to be an adult. We could do whatever we want. Nobody could tell us we can't have ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Nobody said, You have to go to bed at this time. We can do whatever. Except disappointment kind of kicks in when you have to start to go to work every day, right? Bills that need paid, groceries that need bought, the big house you always wanted, realizing now how much it takes to clean that house and keep it up, and the bills for that size of the house, and the taxes that we have to pay every year, and the mortgage that we pay every month. Okay, this isn't exactly what I thought it would be when I was finally an adult. Can we relate to any of this? Okay. And this is where we find ourselves this morning with these two men on the road. Not excited if they turn 16 and can drive, not looking forward to being an adult and all these advantages. But here they are walking away from Jerusalem to Emmaus on the first day of the week, on the day of Jesus' resurrection. Now, last week we talked about this being an exciting moment, but here they are walking away with their heads down low, their faces filled with disappointment. The hype and the excitement that was built up turned to disappointment and confusion very quickly. Everyone was so excited for the Messiah to come and redeem Israel, right? But he didn't come the way they thought he would. He was going to break free all the strongholds. He was going to be victorious and save them from the Roman Empire, except now he's dead. There were women who told them they had seen Jesus, and everyone thought they were nuts, right? We talked about that last week too. But the disciples did verify part of the story, that they went and yes, the tomb was empty. There were no angels this time. There's no Jesus. There's no body. There's nothing but linen. This was a huge disappointment. All this time, all this focus, all of this determination on everything that Jesus was going to do and what Jesus was going to be for the people is now gone. Instead of being kingly, he died a death of a criminal. And now, the tomb that they laid him in, well, it's completely empty. Disappointment fills the air. He never did what the people thought he was going to do. Confusion on what the last couple of years actually meant. The expectations squashed. The hopes shattered. Here's the best part of today. That while the two men were on this journey, Jesus comes to walk with them. He wants to hear what they're talking about. He wants to know what they're feeling. He wants to be a part of this moment. And the men were made to not be able to see clearly who this was that is walking with them. But we get to know, hindsight, that it is Jesus walking with them. Jesus who comes into their conversation. Jesus who comes in quietly and patiently, meeting the men where they were, meeting them in their disappointment and their confusion. When have you experienced a moment of disappointment or a moment of confusion, wondering where Jesus is? And it's so hard to see Jesus in these moments of disappointment and confusion. We're so focused on thinking about what we thought should have happened versus the reality of how it turned out, that we miss seeing Jesus. The change these men were expecting, it had happened. They just hadn't seen it yet. They were focused on what didn't happen, that they missed out on the resurrection. They missed that moment of change. They missed the big moment. More often than not, our resurrection moment comes well before we even know that it's here. There are times in our faith that we often miss the big moment. We're focused on what we think life should look like or how it should be, and we work hard for that. And we're focused on what we think the church should look like and feel like and act, and we focus hard on that. We're so focused on our ideas of what is happening that we miss the resurrection moment. When we're so focused on our painful seasons that we can't see through the clouds, we miss the moment that Jesus walks beside us. He doesn't walk in front of us. He doesn't walk behind us. He walks side by side with us. He was there all along and will always be there. He's there when we're disappointed in our faith or in ourselves. He's there when we're questioning what's happening in life. He's there when we aren't sure, when we are doubting. He's there even when we cannot see him, even when we cannot feel him. He is there in our painful seasons. He's there in our seasons of joy, and he's there in our seasons of the mundane. He's there in our seasons of fear, in our seasons of doubt. Wherever we are, he is there also. Jesus walks with us through our disappointment and confusion. Jesus walks with us no matter our situation. But stand in this truth today. Jesus is with us always, no matter the situation, no matter how we feel about God's plans. He is there, no matter what. The tomb was empty. The men were disappointed and confused, their hopes crushed by the weight of reality. Their resurrection moment hasn't happened yet. They don't understand the significance of that empty tomb yet. They don't even understand that it's Jesus that's walking with them and that Jesus will always be there. The tomb was empty because a new beginning is taking place. The beginning of a new covenant. The beginning of a new way of living with one another. The beginning of what they have been waiting for. It's just coming in a way they were not expecting. When we find ourselves in a moment of questioning Jesus' presence, may you remind yourself that Jesus is there. May you believe the words that you tell yourself that Jesus is there. May you trust those words. Because Jesus may not be there in the way we are expecting him to be. But he's there because he's always there. Jesus will never leave. Amen? Amen. Amen.